So, how much time goes by from your second near-death experience to your third one?
Well, my third one happened in November of 2016. So it was many years. And what happened with that one is I had to have emergency surgery for a bowel blockage. And so I was in surgery, and something had happened with the breathing tube. I didn't know this until after the surgery. The nurses told me that I had aspirated on the breathing tube, and I had pneumonia in both of my lungs. I was really sick, but when I came back, I didn't even feel sick. I was still glowing from being in heaven. I felt great. I had no idea I was sick. But anyway, when I was in the surgery, I came out of my body and I was hovering over top of the table, and I could see that they had blue hats on and blue gloves, and all I could see was the top of their heads. They were kind of bent over, but I saw them pull their hands out and I could see blood on their hands, and I was like, no. I don't want to see this. So I went over in the corner of the room, and I sat up in the corner of the room and I watched for a minute. And then there was this, it was like an upside down, rainbow colored, sparkly type, what do you call it? Whirlpool. And it was going up this way. So I thought, I really don't need all that information over there on that table. So I'm just going to go right up there. And I went right up through it. And I found myself standing in the same place that I had been in my second near-death experience. Only this time I was closer to the golden wall that surrounds the city. And this wall was like pure solid gold cinder blocks is what it reminded me of. And it was, tall, really, really tall. And I kept trying to jump the wall, trying to get through the wall. But it didn't dawn on me, the gates were open just a couple steps down. And I could go right in the gates and be done with it, but it didn't dawn on me. And there was this, so I'm standing there, and there's this little brown and white beagle puppy, and he was so cute. He was roly-poly and fat and chubby and just barking and jumping at my feet and legs. And so I knelt down and I was playing with this little beagle puppy. It was a little boy, and he was so adorable. And so I'm actually touching and interacting with things there in heaven. And there was this huge meadow, and it had tall grasses that had these wildflowers, and they were kind of swaying back and forth like this in the breeze. And I could smell, it was so sweet smelling. And beyond that, the meadow, there was over on the left-hand side was the garden where I had been before. And so I'm actually facing it this way instead of the other way, which everything would have been on the right. But this time it was all on the left. But so I saw all these people pouring out of the garden where I was at, and they were walking through the meadow. And I saw two Middle Eastern men, and they were talking together. Everybody had their own angel, and the angels were taller and more illuminated. They were wearing white and had pale blue, like a sash, or I don't know what you call it, or something around there. But anyway, so I saw the two Middle Eastern men, and they were smiling and laughing together and walking towards going into the city. I saw a man who looked like he was from New York. He was like a construction worker. He still had a hard hat on, and he had a tool vest with tools tucked down in the vest. And he walked past me. There were, women and children and older people. There was just tons of people. And then I saw two particular people came into my view, and I saw The younger of the two men I recognized from some pictures I had seen from his mother, and I was friends with his mom, and I recognized him. And the older gentleman I recognized was his father. And so they walked past me and I said, "Oh my gosh, I know you." And the younger one smiled at me, and then the two of them went into the city. Now, I could hear dishes clanging, and I heard music playing, and people were talking, and it sounded like they were getting ready for a party of some sort inside the gates, the city wall. But anyway, when I got back to, after that, I went back to my body. And then there was, after they took the tubes out and got me well enough to go back to my room, I had picked up my phone, and there was a message from a joint friend of ours, the mother of the younger man and that I saw, and myself, and she had texted me to let me know that this woman's husband had died while I was in surgery that day. And I said, "I know, because I saw him, and he's with his son, and they're in the gates, they're in heaven together." And then I proceeded to tell my daughter the experience, and I told her about the puppy, and she told me that they had to call the police on a neighbor of theirs because he was seen beating his beagle puppy to death. The man got arrested for, treating the puppy inhumanely, but I was able to tell her that I saw this puppy, and the puppy was fine, and he was happy and running around, and he was healthy. And so our pets do go to heaven.
That's so beautiful, because as you know, I have a beagle, so that's like my favorite story ever,
Oh.
In fact, I just heard him knocking at my door because he's always running around having a good time.
Oh.
So your third one, and your fourth one, were they pretty close together, or?
They were about a year apart. My fourth one happened in December of 2017.
So yeah, almost exactly a year apart. So what happened with that one?
Well, that one was a little different than the others. I had gone into the hospital because of seizures, and I had had a reaction to some medication, and I actually died from acute respiratory acidosis. But what happened was I just laid down in the bed to go to sleep. And the next thing I know, I'm like going up, up, up. There was like 3 levels I had gone up. And if you've ever watched a helium balloon and how it just rises very slowly, rises. That's what it felt like a helium balloon. But I had, where I had gone, I had heard about this from a lot of the near-death experience groups that I was a part of, and I wasn't afraid to die, but I was afraid of this particular place called the Void. And as it turned out, that's where I went. And I was wrapped in this amazing, soft, black velvet blanket, is what it felt like. And I could see myself inside the blanket as well as outside the blanket. So I could see myself, I was laying on my side, I was in a fetal position. But I was just totally encased, and I felt protected and safe, and I could see, if you hold up fabric to the light, there are little holes and you can see through the fabric. So I could see through the fabric these little points of light that I assume were stars. And I saw them, and I thought to myself, oh, but those are interesting, but I like it better in the blanket. where it's soft and protect. I'm cozy, I'm warm, I'm safe. And it was almost like I was inside the womb again, a baby inside the womb. That's how I felt. I was looking at things with amusement, but not, uh, not curiosity enough to come out of the blanket and look. Then I heard this conversation, and it was like I could see God outside of this blanket, and he was holding me in these big hands in this, soft little blanket. And it was a conversation about whether, I don't know if it was my soul he was talking to or if it was someone else he was talking to about me, but it was about whether I was to stay or go. And what I heard was, let's not make any hasty decisions. Just think about this for a while. You're tired, you're depressed, you've had enough, I get it, but let's just think about it. Because if it had been left up to me, I would have gone. But he was just saying, I love you, I'm here, I'm holding you, I've got you, you're safe. Just think about it. Just rest. You need rest. And so that lasted for a little while. And then the next thing I know, I'm back in I guess I made the decision to come back because I ended up back in the bed, and the lights were so bright, they were just killing my eyes. And the doctors was standing next to me yelling my name, and there were nurses running around. And I looked across the room, and my husband was standing at the front, or at the door to the hospital room, and he had a look of terror on his face. So I was like, oh God, turn the lights out, please. Stop yelling. So that was that.
So I have a couple questions. Were you ever told why you've been able to go back and forth so many times? Was there anything like, hey, we wanted to get you back here, we needed to heal you, anything like that?
No. I did. I did have a visitation when I was taking care of my mom when she had Alzheimer's. There was a physical visitation. It wasn't a dream. I was in the kitchen mopping the floor, and I'd had a particularly hard day taking care of her, and I put her down for a nap, and my way of decompressing was to clean. So I went into the kitchen and was mopping the floor, and I heard this noise, and I turned around, and there was Jesus standing in my mom's kitchen, leaning up against the counter. And I had never told anybody that I cried a lot because, I had died 4 different times, 4 different ways. I went through it all, and was in heaven. And then all of a sudden I'm sent back, and I thought, really? Are you kidding me? Is there something wrong with me? You keep kicking me out of heaven. Why? But I never said anything to anybody because I know it kind of sounds stupid. But so what he said to me was, you cry because you think I cast you away from me when you were in heaven, and that's so far from the truth. He said, everything that's happened to you in your life has happened to prepare you for this job I have for you. And I was like, okay, what job? And he said, just love. He said, when you are scared, when you are worried, when you are frightened, when you feel, heavy burdened, you give all of that to me. I'm strong enough to take that. You give that to me, and I'll take care of it. And all I want you to do is love, because that's what you do. That's what you do the best. So just do that. And that, to me, that was a huge message.
So another question I have actually pertains to another story I heard you talk about. You saw Jesus when you were part of a choir, correct?
I did, when I was 15.
Can you just briefly tell that story real quick, and then I'll ask you what my question is about that afterwards.
When I was 15, there were some things happening that shouldn't happen to anybody. I went to an adult about it, and I was told, no, it's not happening. It's in your head. Well, I knew it was happening. It was not just in my head. But I thought, okay, these people, I trust them, and they tell me it didn't happen, although I know it did. I'm just going to commit suicide and be done with it. And I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody anything. So I was a member of the youth choir at our church, and it was a Good Friday, and we went to a neighboring church to sing. And I was sitting in the way back. We were down in the bottom of the building practicing for our turn to go up into the main church. So there was me, I was sitting all by myself in the way back. Then there was two women sitting in front of me, and the daughters of one of those women sitting in front of them, and then the rest of the choir. So I'm sitting back there, and all of a sudden I look up, and the whole atmosphere changed. The whole air of the room changed. And I noticed there was a man walking towards me, and it was Jesus. And he was wearing regular clothes, just like what we wear. I mean, it wasn't like he was in a robe with a halo over his head. He was just, he was absolutely breathtaking. But he sat down next to me, and he said, "Where do I go to sit?" Well, I was like 15, and I'm like, I couldn't say anything, nothing. And I just wanted to slap myself. Wake up, Sharon. This is the Lord. You can say anything you want. I couldn't say anything. So the two ladies in front turned around, and they answered his question, gave him directions of where to go. And he looked at me and he said, "What is happening to you in your life is happening. You're not crazy. I love you. I'm with you. Don't be afraid." Well, when he got up, he put his finger on the elbow of the lady in front of him who had arthritis so bad she couldn't bend her elbow. And he healed her elbow. So he went up and was sitting in the main part of the church. And then we all went up there. It was our turn to sing. And I couldn't tell you if there was anybody else in the church or not, because I just zeroed right in on him and sang my heart out. And that was, well, he did come up to the daughters of the woman, and he said that he liked their singing, and then he left. So we're standing there, me and those four other women, and we're like, "Did you see Jesus?" And people were like, "What are you talking about? Jesus?" And dude, he was sitting right in front of you. You had to fall over him not to, see him. He was right there. But they didn't see him. It was just us four that saw him.
So
but he did something.
Even though you described him, and like just the people that interacted with him were the only ones that actually could see him, huh?
Yeah.
So my question was, when you saw him again, was it the same figure and everything? Was anything different, or was it just the same?
He looked exactly the same every time I saw him. Now, when I saw him on earth, he was wearing, regular clothes. When I saw him in heaven, he was wearing a robe, but it was the same man. It looked exactly the same.
And I like how you say that the atmosphere just completely changed. Like, I think in one of the interviews I saw with you, you said that instantly you knew something holy was there.
It was holiness. Exactly. That's exactly right. That's the best way to put it. It was holiness.
So you wrote a book about your experiences, correct?
Yes, I did.
And what's the book called?
It's called, well, this book has the first two of the four. It's called A Song in the Wind, a near-death experience. So it has number 1 and number 2 in it. And it has a lot of the visitations and things like that in it.
Where can people get a hold of this book?
Amazon has it.
And I also saw you have a website as well, correct?
Well, I have my Facebook, and I have a Song in the Wind page on Facebook, as well as my personal page. I also have a WordPress.
That's what it was, the WordPress.
Yeah,
the one
WordPress. Yeah.
So I think that your stories are just amazing, and to have been able to go and come back 4 times, obviously you're here for a huge important reason. And I love it that Jesus told you that, because it's how we interpret stuff and how the world, like I said, likes to beat us down. We start thinking, is there something wrong with us? But obviously, no, you're here for a big important deal. And I think part of that definitely includes your message of just peace and love. And we're all the same beings. We all are souls, no matter if we're from Afghanistan, China, the US, it doesn't matter. We're all brothers and sisters. And the sooner we learn that, the sooner we can start getting along with everybody much better, So I'm definitely going to help you turn your book into an audiobook, because like I said, that is how I like to enjoy books. And now knowing that your book does the first 2, maybe we can put something together for the second 2.
Yes, I'm working on that. There'll be a sequel to A Song in the Wind.
I think people would really, really enjoy that. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on my podcast. Obviously, this is the first one I've done, and you're the best guest in the world that I could ever have. So to have you for the first one is just amazing, and I can't thank you enough for doing this.
Thank you. It's been an honor to be with you.
Before we go, anything else you'd like to share, or anything that you'd like to say before we go?
Well, I just want people to know that if we knew how much God loved us, we wouldn't have those sad days, because He loves us, each one of us, as if we were the only one He ever created. And we are all so special to Him. And like He said to me, I don't make mistakes. I don't make junk. You are not a mistake. And He loves us so much that He thinks about us 24/7, all day long, every moment of every day. And if He stopped thinking about us, we would cease to be, as if we never were. So to know that He loves us so much that we're in the divine mind of God 24/7, you know that He has to love. And there's 7.7 billion people or bazillion people on this planet, and He loves each and every one of us that much that we're always in His mind and in His heart. And so I try to tell people that, to give them hope, and also just remember the little things. Do whatever it is you do, no matter how big or small it is, do it with love, because that's what really matters.